The Yamaha YZF-R6 is done. Final year, 2026, $16,640 new. And then the factory simply stops building it. Permanently, no more, ever. Manufacturers do not kill a model because they are bored. They kill it because of emissions rules, slow sales, a replacement, waiting in the wings, or a platform that has simply run its course. 15 motorcycles are getting the axe for the 2027 model year, and we are counting them all down right now. Starting with the most unexpected. At number 15, the Yamaha YZF-R6 Race and 𝐑𝐈𝐃𝐄𝐑. We are opening with the bike that basically invented the modern supersport class, and we need to be precise about which version we are talking about here. The street-legal YZF-R6 was already discontinued back in 2020, so what survives today is the track-only R6 Race in 𝐑𝐈𝐃𝐄𝐑 platform, a non-homologated machine built exclusively for closed-course racing. That is the version getting the axe for real this time. Under the fairing sits the same liquid-cooled, inline four-cylinder 𝐑𝐄𝐀 16-valve engine displacing 599 cubic centimeters. This is not a rumor. Speedweek published an official manufacturing report confirming the absolute end of global production in February of 2027. Why is it getting cut? It was replaced. Yamaha is redirecting every scrap of factory floor space toward the new CP3-powered R9, which runs an 890 cubic centimeters triple, and the screaming inline-four platform simply does not fit into that racing plan anymore. There is no scandal here, no recall, no dark secret buried in a service bulletin. The R6 Race is being shown the door for the crime of being outdated in a spreadsheet somewhere in Japan. New track-only units are currently going for around $12,199, and once the factory stock actually dries up, expect used prices to climb well above that figure. Yes, a track-only bike with no license plate is about to cost more used than new, which tells you exactly how much racing pedigree is worth once a factory literally cannot make any more of it. The verdict here is simple. Buy now. Track-focused versions with genuine racing pedigree are about to become a collector's item practically overnight. The same way, discontinued sport bikes always seem to once the ink dries on the final production run. If you are shopping used, walk straight to the front of the bike and inspect the steering stops on the lower triple tree. Cracks or dents there are the calling card of a hard track crash that the seller conveniently forgot to mention. And no amount of fresh bodywork is going to hide that story from you. Now, if screaming four-cylinder supersports are not your speed, Yamaha is also quietly pulling the plug on something a whole lot slower, a whole lot weirder, and a whole lot more likely to make you lean sideways at a red light while everyone around you tries to figure out what exactly they are looking at. Exiting the scene, slowly at number 14, the Yamaha Tricity series. This is the strange three-wheeled commuter that most Americans have never even seen in person, and it is getting cut too, which honestly might be the most low-key discontinuation on this entire list. Final model year, 2026. The engine is a liquid-cooled, single-cylinder SOHC Blue Core unit ranging from 125 cubic centimeters up to 300 cubic centimeters, depending on the trim. The confirmation on this one comes straight from 𝐵𝐵𝐼𝐃 Japan, which detailed a complete halt in new assembly line allocations for the front two-wheeled commuter lineup. So why kill something that is basically a rolling curiosity? Slow sales. The leaning multi-wheel front suspension is mechanically complex to manufacture, and that complexity simply did not translate into commuters lining up to buy it. Honestly, most riders in America have never even seen one of these in the wild, which makes it a strange little footnote in an otherwise very predictable list of discontinuations. Here's the catch most American viewers need to know up front. The Tricity never officially landed on a US showroom floor. Yamaha's only leaning multi-wheel product sold stateside was the larger Niken GT, an 847cc triple. which is a completely different machine. So while new Tricity units run about $6,200 converted from European and Asian pricing, and used examples settle around $4,000, those numbers are strictly an overseas story, not a US one. The verdict is wait. There is zero scarcity pressure here, and prices are only going to soften further as secondary buyers get nervous about that complicated dual-front fork setup once part support inevitably thins out. If you do go looking at one, test the leaning multi-wheel linkages for side play, notchiness, or fluid weeping at both front fork seals, since a worn linkage on a three-wheeled front end is a much bigger deal than it would be on a normal bike. But if three wheels feels like too much commitment, Europe just lost access to one of the most beloved, most bulletproof, most recommended beginner bikes in the entire industry. And Americans, for once, are the only ones who still get to walk into a dealership and buy it brand new. If discontinued model breakdowns like this one are useful to you, go ahead and hit subscribe right now, because we are tracking every single 2027 lineup cut across every major manufacturer as it gets confirmed, and you do not want to miss the next one. Vanishing quietly across the pond. At number 13, the Suzuki SV650 Europe only. This one stings a little because the SV650 is basically the bike every single motorcycle forum recommends to first-time riders, and losing it anywhere feels like losing a piece of the industry's shared common sense. Final model year in Europe is 2026. The engine is a liquid-cooled 90-degree V-twin DOHC unit at 645 cubic centimeters, and it is a genuinely great little motor. RevZilla reported that the SV650 has been discontinued in Europe specifically, though it remains available in the American market for now. So American buyers get to keep enjoying it, while European riders are left scrolling through used listings with a bit of jealousy. The reason is emissions. The aging V-twin platform simply cannot meet stricter Euro 5+ requirements without an expensive full redesign that Suzuki apparently decided was not worth it for that market. New price sits at $7,399, and expected used pricing is around $6,000, holding steady thanks to its rock-solid beginner reputation. Millions of these exist worldwide, so the verdict is wait. There is no threat of scarcity whatsoever on the used market, and honestly, this is one of those rare discontinuations where patience genuinely costs you nothing. If you are shopping one, look behind the front wheel and inspect the front cylinder spark plug well for rust or blockage, because that is the classic spot where rainy rides cause misfires. And it is shockingly easy for a seller to simply not know it is a problem. American riders keep their SV650. Indian riders, on the other hand, are about to lose an entire style of cruiser because Indian is trimming its heritage lineup down to the studs. And this next one is only the first casualty of a much bigger house cleaning. Before we rip through this next stretch, one quick heads up. Indian did not just cut one Scout. They completely overhauled the entire Scout platform, retiring the old 1,133 cubic centimeters and 999 cubic centimeters engines in favor of the new Speed Plus lineup, and then folding a whole stack of sub-trims and Limited Plus tech packages into simpler core options. So the next several entries are not 8 separate motorcycles vanishing into thin air. They are one platform consolidation split across every trim it touched. We are counting them individually because each one carries its own price tag and its own buying verdict. But know going in that you are watching one big cleanup, not 8 unrelated decisions. Fading out gracefully. At number 12, the Indian Scout Classic. The full-fendered, heritage-styled Scout Classic is on its way out after the 2026 model year. And if you have ever wanted that old-school cruiser silhouette on a modern platform, then the clock is officially ticking. Under the tank sits a liquid-cooled 60-degree Speed Plus V-twin at 1,250 cc. Motorcycle.com uncovered this one through newly filed EPA certification applications, which is basically the paper trail manufacturers leave behind right before a model quietly disappears. The reason is a platform retirement combined with a lineup consolidation. Indian wants riders pushed toward the bobber and sport trims, which are simply more profitable to build and sell. It is a classic case of the accountants winning an argument the design department clearly lost. New units go for $13,999, with used values expected around $12,500. The verdict is buy now, especially if you are the kind of rider who actually prefers a classic sweeping fender over the stripped-down bobber look that is about to dominate the entire Scout lineup for the foreseeable future. Check the inner edge of that sweeping rear fender for paint chafing or structural rub from the tire, because that is where heritage styling meets real-world clearance problems, and it is an easy spot for a seller to overlook entirely. And speaking of Scouts with fenders that will not exist in this shape much longer, there is another Scout variant getting cut. And this one was supposed to be the sport touring answer to a question absolutely nobody asked at the dealership. Rolling away reluctantly. At number 11, the Indian Sport Scout RT. This is the touring fairing version of the Sport Scout, and it is being cut alongside its siblings after 2026, proving once again that a factory windscreen is apparently a much tougher sell than anybody at Indian expected. The engine is the same liquid-cooled 60-degree Speed Plus V-twin at 1,250 cubic centimeters. Confirmation comes from Indian's own 2027 model year regulatory filings, cataloged by motorcycle.com. The reason is simply slow sales. The touring fairing package apparently failed to pull cruiser riders away from just bolting an aftermarket windscreen onto a standard model instead, which is a fairly embarrassing way for a factory option to lose an argument. New pricing sits at $14,500, with used values expected to drop to $11,800. The verdict is its weight, because there is no collector cachet here to prop up resale value once the model disappears, and depreciation on an unloved trim tends to be brutal and fast. If shopping used, inspect the frame mounting brackets for the RT front cowl to make sure they are clean, uncracked, and free of any factory weld stress marks, since a cracked bracket at highway speed is not something you want to discover the hard way. Indian is not done. Trimming the Scout family though, not even close. In fact, the entire 999cc engine size is about to lose its most classic-looking variant, and this cut hurts a little differently. Riding off 60-fold. At number 10, the Indian Scout 60 Classic. The smaller displacement, full fender Scout 60 Classic is getting axed after 2026, and if you have been eyeing a lighter, cheaper Scout with that classic full fender look, you officially do not have much time left. Its engine is a liquid-cooled V-twin at 999 cubic centimeters, which Indian markets as 60 cubic inches. This one was sourced from 2027 EPA emissions filing spreadsheets reviewed by motorcycle.com. The reasoning is lineup consolidation. Dropping the entry-level full fender version limits the smaller engine size exclusively to the bobber profile going forward, so the heritage look is officially getting reserved for the bigger, pricier engine only. New pricing is $11,999, with expected used pricing around $9,500. The verdict is wait, since entry-level buyers trade these up fast, guaranteeing a steady stream of clean, cheap used examples for a long time, often with barely any real mileage on the clock. If you are inspecting one, pull the dipstick and check for clutch debris in the oil, since beginner riders notoriously overslip smaller clutches, learning to launch from a stop, and that habit leaves evidence behind whether they admit it or not. But here's where things get genuinely confusing, because Indian is not just cutting the classic trim on this smaller engine. They are cutting the entire sport variant too. And you are about to see exactly why keeping track of the Scout lineup is starting to feel like a full-time job. If you think this entry is surprising, you won't expect the next motorcycle on this list either. Getting cut ruthlessly at number 9, the Indian Sport Scout 60. This is the sportier styled version riding on that same smaller 999cc engine, and it is also getting cut after 2026, which means Indian is effectively wiping out an entire branch of its smaller displacement family tree in one single model year. The engine is identical, a liquid-cooled V-twin at 999 cubic centimeters. This discontinuation was found buried inside official manufacturing type approval documentation reported on motorcycle.com. Why cut it? Indian is replacing it, essentially forcing entry-level sport buyers up into the pricier, more profitable 1,250cc sport variant instead, which is a polite corporate way of saying buy the bigger one. New pricing sits at $12,250, with used values expected around $10,000. The verdict is, wait. If you want this exact style, look for the standard larger sport model on the secondary market instead, since it is not going anywhere and honestly does the same job with more power to spare. If shopping used, check the rear shock adjustment collars for damage from crude tool use, which is a classic sign of a rushed, impatient rider setup with a wrench and not enough patience. Indian's tech package trims are also getting quietly folded into base models, and the first one on the chopping block is the bobber's flashiest, most gadget-loaded version of them all. This is exactly what comes next on our list. Losing its shine. Suddenly at number 8, the Indian Scout Bobber Limited Plus Tech. The extra step-up tech trim on the Bobber Limited is being cut after 2026, and it is looking more and more like Indian. Decided this entire model year was the year to simplify everything at once, tech trims included. Under the tank sits the liquid-cooled 60-degree Speed Plus V-twin at 1,250 cubic centimeters. Confirmation comes from updated powertrain, indexing published on motorcycle.com. This is a lineup consolidation. The Extra Tech step-up trim is being folded directly into the base limited series to simplify assembly for Indian's factory, meaning the paperwork gets simpler even if the bike itself barely changes. New pricing is $15,699, with used values expected around $13,500. The verdict is wait, since those exact tech features are going to trickle down into standard used trims without demanding a price premium, which means the smart buyer simply lets someone else pay for the novelty. If shopping used, fire up the ignition and cycle through the menus to make sure the TFT display touchscreen is fully responsive across the entire screen, not just the corners, since dead zones on these panels are a known and annoying quirk. And it turns out the classic trim is losing its own tech-loaded version too, for the exact same paperwork simplifying reason, because apparently nothing with a touchscreen is safe this year, especially not the bike that comes next. Disappearing automatically. At number 7, the Indian Scout Classic Limited Plus Tech. This tech-loaded classic trim is being cut automatically after 2026, alongside the deletion of the entire Scout Classic architecture, which means this one was never really a standalone decision, so much as unavoidable collateral damage. The engine remains the liquid-cooled 60-degree Speed Plus V-twin at 1,250 cubic centimeters. This was extracted from formal factory configuration indexes analyzed by motorcycle.com. The reason is a platform retirement. When Indian kills the classic architecture entirely, every trim built on top of it disappears with it. No exceptions, no matter how many buttons and screens got bolted onto it along the way. New pricing sits at $15,699, with used values expected around $12,900. The verdict is wait, unless you specifically crave a touchscreen retro cruiser, in which case, good luck, because your options are about to shrink fast, and the remaining examples will not be getting any cheaper. If shopping used, inspect the keyless fob sensor receiver housing underneath the seat for signs of water intrusion or corroded connections, because a soaked sensor module is an expensive way to find out your bike will not start. Naturally, the next bike on our list is not escaping this either. Its own tech trim is on the chopping block too, right alongside its bobber and classic siblings. slipping away quietly. At number 6, the Indian Sport Scout Limited Plus Tech. This tech package trim on the Sport Scout is getting cut after 2026. And by this point, you have probably noticed a very clear pattern forming across the entire Scout family. The engine is, once again, the liquid-cooled 60-degree Speed Plus V-twin at 1,250 cubic centimeters. This one was documented in state vehicle certification reports hosted on motorcycle.com. It is another lineup consolidation move. Indian is cleaning up its ordering process by minimizing redundant technology add-on tiers across the board, presumably so their own order forms stop confusing everyone, dealers included. New pricing is $15,199, with used values expected around $13,200. The verdict is, wait. Buy the mechanical base model cheaper and simply add electronic accessories later if you actually need them, since half of these tech packages are just convenience anyway. If shopping used, check the alignment of the handlebar riser clamp extensions to make sure they have not twisted from a dropped bike, which is one of the most common and most quietly hidden forms of damage on any cruiser. If you thought the regular Sport Scout losing its tech trim was rough, wait until you see what is happening to the flagship touring version of the entire Scout family, the one that was supposed to be the crown jewel of the whole lineup. Falling hardest. At number 5, the Indian Super Scout Limited Plus Tech. The flagship Touring Scout is losing its standalone sub-trim designation entirely after 2026, which honestly feels like the biggest domino in this whole chain reaction of Scout cuts finally falling. The engine remains the liquid-cooled 60-degree Speed Plus V-twin at 1,250 cubic centimeters. This was outlined in 2027 model year government fleet listings covered on motorcycle.com. The cause is lineup consolidation. The flagship touring package is losing its own designation to help Indian balance manufacturing costs across the broader lineup, which is a fancy way of saying the spreadsheet needed fewer rows. New pricing sits at $16,999, with used values expected around $14,200. The verdict is wait, because heavy touring package variants like this one experience rapid initial depreciation once they hit the used market, and that first owner tends to eat most of the loss for you. If shopping used, inspect the leather or composite saddlebag quick release mounting pins for cracking or structural twisting from being overloaded on long hauls, since a failed pin at highway speed turns your luggage into a genuine road hazard. CTA break. If you have a favorite from this list so far, drop it in the comments below, because we genuinely read every single one, and it helps us decide which brand's discontinued lineup to dig into next, whether that is Kawasaki, Ducati, Triumph, or whoever else quietly starts trimming their catalog. Trimming down finally. At number 4, the Indian Scout 60 Bobber Limited. The mid-tier trim on the smaller displacement bobber is being completely cut after 2026, wrapping up what has been an absolutely brutal model year for Indian's Scout 60 lineup specifically. Its engine is the liquid-cooled V-twin at 999 cubic centimeters. This was outlined in public asset adjustments released by motorcycle.com. The reason is lineup consolidation. The mid-tier options on this smaller engine line are being cut entirely to simplify Indian's retail catalog, which by this point in the list should sound extremely familiar. New pricing is $12,999, with used values expected around $10,500. The verdict is wait, since sub-liter entry cruisers always flood the classified ads within a year or two of a rider trading up to something bigger and louder. If shopping used, shine a light down at the short travel rear shock bump stops to check. They have not disintegrated from repeated bottoming out, since short travel suspension on a heavier bobber wears out faster than most riders expect. Now we are finally leaving Indian behind entirely. because Honda is about to lose an entire middleweight platform that inline-4 fans have been quietly obsessed with for years. And this cut is a genuinely bigger deal than anything on this list so far. Pulling back regionally at number 3, the Honda CBR 650R, regional and big wing portfolios. Honda's middleweight sport bike is getting cut from key regional portfolios after 2026, and this is genuinely one of the more painful cuts on this entire list for anyone who actually loves a proper inline-4 howl. Under the fairing sits a liquid-cooled inline 4-cylinder DOHC engine at 649 cubic centimeters. This was confirmed through national dealer inventory deletions documented by Rushlane Automotive News, and we need to be clear about the scope here. This bike is not disappearing globally. It is still alive and well in the US and European lineups, and Honda recently updated it with their new 𝐏𝐄𝐑 technology. What is getting cut is the allocation to specific regional big wing dealership networks in emerging markets, where slower sales made Honda prioritize cheaper twin-cylinder alternatives instead. If you are shopping in the States, the inline-4 is not going anywhere. New pricing sits at $9,899, with used values expected around $8,200. The verdict here is, buy now. Inline-4 middleweights are becoming genuinely scarce across the entire industry, and clean examples of this one are going to hold their value remarkably well as parallel twins take over the segment. If shopping used, look underneath the fairings for header pipe discoloration or exhaust flange leaks, which point to a bike that got thrashed without ever being properly warmed up, a habit that quietly cooks the internals over time. And Honda is not stopping there, because the naked, unfaired version of this exact same platform is also getting the axe in those same regions at basically the same time. Stripping down simultaneously, at number 2, the Honda CB65OR, regional and big wing portfolios. The Neo Sports Cafe naked version of that same platform is being cut from those same regional portfolios after 2026, which means Honda is essentially retiring this whole engine's presence in these markets in one clean sweep rather than dragging it out. And the engine is identical, a liquid-cooled inline 4-cylinder DOHC unit at 649 cubic centimeters. This was disclosed via premium market catalog drops logged on Rushlane Automotive News. And same disclaimer as its fared sibling, this is a regional big wing portfolio adjustment, not a global retirement. The retro Neo Sports Cafe styling simply underperformed against cheaper, torque-heavy parallel twin naked bikes in specific emerging markets, and Honda trimmed it from those catalogs accordingly. US and European riders keep full access to the 𝐏𝐄𝐑-equipped CB65OR, no passport required. New pricing is $9,399, with used values expected around $7,600. The verdict is wait. Used models regularly show up online at competitive prices, since collectors do not treat this one as a pure track machine worth hoarding. If shopping used, check the radiator, cooling fins for rock bruising or leaks, since this model gets very minimal factory coverage from road debris, and it shows up on high-mileage commuter examples especially often. If this kind of discontinued and confirmed breakdown is exactly what you come to this channel for, tap that like button right now, because it is the single fastest way to tell the algorithm to keep putting these in front of more riders who need to see them before their favorite trim quietly vanishes from the order form too. And that finally brings us to number 1, the single strangest cut on this entire list, because it is not really about the bike at all. It is about where you happen to live. Wrapping up, strangely at number 1, the Honda X-ADV Maxi Scooter, selected regional markets. The adventure maxi scooter that blends dirt bike styling with a fully automatic dual-clutch transmission earns the top spot for the same reason the Tricity earned an honorable mention earlier. American riders never got this bike on a US showroom floor to begin with. Big Red gave the States the 𝐵𝐷V 150, the 𝐵𝐷V 160, and the NC750X instead, leaving the 745 ccx 𝐵𝐷V as a European and Asian exclusive. Now, selected markets over there are officially pulling the plug on it. Its engine is a liquid-cooled parallel twin SOHC 8-valve unit at 745 cc. This was verified by market-specific delistings detailed on Rush Lane Automotive News. The reason is a regional sales strategy shift. High retail pricing turned this adventure scooter into a low-volume luxury niche outside of its strong European base, which is a shame because for the riders who could actually buy one, it was one of the most genuinely useful vehicles on this entire list. New pricing sits at $13,500, with used values expected around $11,000. The verdict is buy now, but only if you happen to live in a region where it is actually being discontinued, because importing replacement parts later is a whole lot easier than hunting down a clean, properly titled example from scratch after the fact. If shopping used, actuate and listen to the dual clutch transmission actuator switches during gear selections to make sure they are engaging swiftly and cleanly, since a hesitant shift on this system is usually the first sign of a bigger, pricier problem. 15 motorcycles gone, cut, or quietly delisted for 2027, and every single one of them comes down to the same 4 reasons: emissions rules tightening, slow sales, a shiny replacement waiting in the wings, or a platform that simply reached the end of its road. None of these are conspiracies. None of these are secret recalls hiding in plain sight. And none of these are the manufacturer trying to sneak something past you. They are simply business decisions made in a boardroom somewhere that happen to have a very real and very useful effect on your wallet if you know how to read them correctly. A discontinued model is not a tragedy. It is a negotiating opportunity because dealer discounts show up right now on remaining new stock, while a stronger used value shows up down the road once the badge officially disappears from the catalog for good. Some of these bikes deserve a buy now because scarcity is genuinely coming for them, like that inline-4 Honda middleweight or that soon-to-be collectible Yamaha Supersport. Others deserve a patient wait because trims get folded together, tech features trickle downstream, and unloved sub-variants flood the classified ads the second the ink dries on the discontinuation notice. Knowing which is which before everybody else figures it out is the entire game. Make sure you are subscribed so you catch every single confirmed cut the moment it happens, because this list is going to keep growing as more manufacturers file their own 2027 paperwork throughout the rest of the year. And honestly, some of the biggest names have not even filed yet. Click on the next video on your screen right now, because we are not done digging through what is disappearing, what is worth grabbing, and what you should absolutely just let go.